Hi. So this must be Dominic.
Yeah. Who do
Yeah.
you know?
Hi, Dominic. Thanks for being on the show. How old are you now?
I'm 9 years old today.
Today's your birthday?
No.
No. Okay. You're 9 years old. That's great. Are you going to school or do you have to be at home?
I have to be at home because school is over.
Oh, that's true. School is over. Before school was over, were you doing school from home or were you actually going to the classroom?
I was at home at the campus.
Oh, okay. So what do you like to do for fun?
Swimming?
Are you a swimmer?
Yep.
Good for you. I was not a very good swimmer. Looked like I was splashing around. So, folks, I am welcoming to you. Do you go by Nikki?
Nikki, yeah.
Yeah, Nikki,
Dominic.
Dominic, and Colton just joined us. Hi, Colton.
Hi.
How you doing today? I think you're 2. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah. 2 years old?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's great. Do you go swimming too?
Yeah.
Yeah. You like to go swimming?
Yeah.
Awesome.
And
Dominic, do you have any questions for me?
well, no, not really.
Not really. Okay. If you have any questions later, you can ask me. And Nikki, I was going to let you sort of maybe just share the story. And I don't know if you want to share it in front of Dominic or if you'd rather he not be right there.
Okay, I'll let him break for a minute.
Okay.
You can go play outside?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I will start with Colton's story, the younger one first.
Yeah.
So I was vaccine hesitant going into the 2-month appointment. I don't know if I was very coherent on what actually was given on the very first day of life, the hepatitis B and the vitamin K. I don't even know, if I knew what was going on that day, but the 2-month appointment, I talked to the doctor about just being nervous about not knowing if it's safe because of what I seen on the internet that morning. And I saw a death certificate floating around on the internet with a question that said, have any of you heard of a child dying after vaccines? And my hometown of Buffalo, Minnesota was on that death certificate. So I was a little like, how is this? What is this? Who is this woman?
A little close to home.
Yes. And that is Katie Klobas, Evie Gale, Klobas's mom. I had followed her story from that day on, learned a lot about what I didn't know, what I really didn't know about everything. And I did go into that appointment vaccine hesitant. She talked me into it, telling me it was perfectly fine, perfectly safe. We did get them at 2 months. He was technically about 3 months old. Then 3 days later, after those vaccines, he reacted. He screamed at me for 5 hours straight, was lethargic. He had hives, red bumpy hives all over his body. We had no idea what could have caused it. And at first, I never even thought about the vaccines, not until I dug farther into it. I really dug into it after that on my own. We stayed away from the doctor. I just I wasn't confident enough to continue, vaccinating at that point.
Did they say anything about it? I imagine you called the doctor and explained the symptoms.
I didn't even call the doctor at the time. We were at Wilderness Resort and we had a little baby in the chlorine and we really thought the reaction was the chlorine. So we just kind of brushed it off. I remember the whole family was there, like Googling.
Yeah. Dr. Google.
The baby has a rash. What do you do?
Yeah.
And then we eventually scheduled an appointment with his pediatrician, the one at the 2-month appointment, that same pediatrician. Talked to her about his reaction then, and she said, in fact, he most likely did react from his vaccines. And then she educated me on, he actually had six, I think she told me 6 vaccines, but I was later in my research, I realized it was 7 vaccines in the 3 shots. And I was dumbfounded. I looked at her like, what? There's only 3 needles going in my kid and there's that many vaccines. So
Yeah, they used a combo vaccine probably if you had 7 different antigens in just 3 shots. So there's a couple of them that have multiple things in them. So has he had other vaccines since then?
No,
How's he doing as far as his development and language and social and all that?
the smartest kid ever.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yes, he is very intelligent. There is one thing I did forget to mention to you. He's been completely healthy his whole, 2 years of his life. But January of 2020, he got sick. We were in NICU for 14 days at Children's. He had RSV and pneumonia.
Okay.
January 1st, 2020.
Yep. RSV can be a bad one.
Yeah.
So let's transition to Dominic's story. He had a different path, didn't he?
He did have a different path. With Dominic, every single well child visit followed with an ER visit.
How soon after a well visit were you ending up in the ER?
So I requested his documents from the ER and then from well baby visits, and it's like that. So each one correlates with, everything, the slew of things that my son dealt with as an infant versus my second son, just the infancy, eczema, constipation, bloody stools. Oh gosh, it was hard.
And the ER visits were probably for those things, but also maybe fever or what things would make you go to the ER? Ear infections.
He got croup like 5 times in a matter of like 3 months. It was just insane. Experiencing, another baby the second time around, I almost feel a lot of grief in what I missed out on with Dominic. And when he was 15 months, he lost the skills he learned as an infant: walking, talking, waving, everything. After a 16-month appointment or 15-month appointment, by 16 months, we were educationally diagnosed.
Wow. So he regressed pretty fast within a month.
Very fast. The moment I knew, my dad dropped a tin bucket on top of a glass table, and my son didn't even look. Didn't flint, didn't nothing. So right then and there was when I knew. At that time, he was doing the repetitive spinning and stimming and a lot of things that I had no idea what was going on,
Right. So that's that, it feels like some of the literature shows up to 90% of the autism we see is regressive autism. And that's when it tends to happen between 1 and 2. Yeah. It's what woke me up. I gave my kids all the vaccines. I was not aware that there was any possible link between vaccines and, anything, right? Because you're told vaccines are safe and they're effective and we believe them. But you saw that regression, and it sounds like it happened pretty fast after your 15-month visit. Can you think back as to how quickly things sort of fell apart for him?
I would say within 2 weeks was the bucket on the table, and it was like, whoa. Right. After 2 weeks after the 15-month appointment.
Right. But by that point, he was already flapping and spinning and not talking.
Yeah. Well, by 16 months. So in between the 15 and 16, he stopped talking, stopped waving, stopped the eye contact, everything. Yeah. He was nonverbal until he was around 5.5.
Wow. How many words did he have before he regressed? Do you remember?
He had Baba, Mama, Dada, Blanky, hi, and bye-bye, and he waved.
Okay. So very doing very well, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. He walked a little later after 1, but still on track, in my opinion, the walk part. Yeah. It's really hard to experience autism when you know nothing about autism. And then your son is like,
and he's your first son, right? So he's doing well now. You've done something right.
Yeah. He has attended OT and speech since 16 months old, twice a week, every week of his little life. Yeah. He has worked so hard. He's come so far.
That's awesome. And have you done any other things to try to help him recover, heal, get well?
So when I really dug into the topic of vaccines, it really opened up a new world for me on healthy living, natural living. I started essential oils. I got introduced to TRS and Black Oxygen Organics. And there's just so many things that, I know now because I just keep asking. And I am a part of the community of children who have been injured. And
yeah, tell our viewers what TRS is.
A toxin removal spray. It's really simple, depending on how you're starting out. So go slow unless you can handle detox symptoms. But it has given my son a lot of words in the past 2 years that he didn't have 2 years ago, detoxing his brain. I have a lot of things I want to do with him. I want to do a muscle test. I want to do all these different things that I've learned about integrated health and what to do with the information that we could get. But go to the medical doctor, and ask them to do a blood test for allergies for food, and they'll laugh at you.
One thing you can do, I'm on the show, I don't give medical advice specific to any one person, but you can do an elimination. The common culprits are gluten, dairy, and eggs, sometimes nuts, but gluten and dairy especially. So back to Dominic, you've had obviously great progress. Is he close to grade level in his work now?
He does mainstream classroom throughout his day, and he's in there quite often. I do hear how awesome it is to see him and hear him in there. He's not up to not intellectual. Sorry, I feel like I'm stuttering my words.
Yeah, no, it's fine. So schoolwork is still hard, in other words.
Up to the grade level. Yeah.
Right. So reading and math, he needs some help with that.
Yeah.
The encouraging thing I can tell you, because my youngest son was not as severely affected, I don't think, as Dominic was initially, but he just couldn't learn a thing. I mean, it was like nobody was home, right? And he just graduated from college. What I saw was when you do the right things to promote detox, to get the right nutrients going, prevent further harm, right? Stop vaccinating if you're, in your case, you're pretty sure the vaccines were part of the problem. Then over time you do detox, plus you're doing things to promote better detox. He'll get better and better, and hopefully he'll even be able to go to college, maybe. Who knows? I mean, it's hard to say because my son was learning the alphabet when he was in first grade, and he'd been in an academic preschool for 4 years, and he couldn't learn his alphabet. He was reading at an early first grade level when he was in third grade. And it just took a while, but it finally started clicking. And so hang in there, give him all the support you can.
I think it's really hard being the mom, reading all of the different, tests and all the things that they do and say about your kid, knowing that they're kind of basing his intellectuality on his ability to communicate.
Right.
And that, and that's hard because he's there.
Just know that the intelligence is all hardwired fine. It just took a hit. And so continue to see him as just as smart as you and his biological dad were. All that intelligence is there, and it just got compromised, but it's not a permanent compromise. It's just some of these toxins take years to get out of your system. And the brain will rewire. I mean, that's the beauty of our brains. It does. Different parts of the brain will take over function that was lost from the insult, from the injury. And so, never give up. I've seen kids make massive progress in their early teens, mid-teens, that were just, you were thinking, boy, they don't have a chance. And, I would never say that to somebody, but, you kind of look at some kids, you go, boy, this poor kid, right? They're just, you've seen them, right? You're in that world where you see kids who are struggling, but don't give up. Don't give up hope. Keep trying things. I think you watched a couple of documentaries that really were impactful for you. Do you want to just share that experience maybe?
Yes. When I was digging into the topic, right after Colton reacted, I watched Vax, the very first movie, and I bawled through the whole entire thing because it literally was a movie about Dominic. Every time I talk to someone, they all have a same story, different verse, and it's very, very, it was hard for me to watch it.
That is so hard to watch because they expose in that movie the fact that the CDC knew. They have had the data since oh my gosh, I can't remember the exact date, but it was the early 2000s, I believe. They had the data that the MMR in particular, but vaccines in general, were causing problems. And they buried the data. They intentionally got rid of it. William Thompson was the principal investigator at the CDC who came out with that information to Brian Hooker, who tells that story on the movie Vaxxed. And it was presented, and well, the information was given to Congress. They've never looked at it to this day. So then you saw another movie.
Yeah. I did want to mention too, Vax came out in 2016, the year Dominic was diagnosed, actually. So it's very interesting to see it that way.
Yeah.
Hi, you back? Yeah. The Vax 2, People's Truth.
Yeah.
That one, you know, had a lot at the beginning about the injury as well, but the whole movie blew my mind. It was another movie of my other child, you know, very, very healthy.
Yeah. That movie, my goodness. So my wife's lived with me my whole career. I've been exposing and talking about what's going on. And when she watched that movie, she was bawling. I mean, I was bawling too, but she said, now I get it. Yep. Because, and my recent research that was published is so powerful because it shows that same thing. The unvaccinated kids are just so healthy in comparison to their vaccinated peers. And
I have read that study in full, and I appreciate everything you've done to get that out. I know it changed your life quite a bit.
Yeah. So, a few days after it was available online, they took my license. Exactly. So which is what caused me to start this show, folks, because I can't see patients. I got to continue to help people understand what's going on. We have to wake up to what's going on. And then the final movie you watched, what was that one called?
1986, The Act.
That's right.
Andrew Wakefield. Yeah. I did actually get to meet him during the showing and a live Q&A at the Alexandria event in November or October of 2020. And that was very powerful for me, and meeting him, being able to ask him questions about the movie. And that movie was a story about me and Tyler, my boyfriend, digging into that topic and realizing the corruption, the lies, the deceit, all of it. It's all right there. You just got to dig and you got to read. I get a lot of backlash. I have for almost 2 years from my family, from friends, from close people who care about me.
Yeah.
That want what's best for me and my kids, and they're worried about them getting sick. And, you know, that's all up to me, and that's all my choice, and all, you know, I just want everybody to hear our story and hope that they'll look into it before, you know.
You know, Nikki, your story I have heard literally hundreds of times because I get the patients who come new to my office. They've got a new baby and they don't want to vaccinate because their prior child was damaged, vaccine injured. And almost all of these people were people who believed in vaccines, who believed that vaccines were the best thing they could do. They're trying to be good parents. And it's not until you have an injured child that you can go, wow, I did this and my child was injured. For whatever reason, whether it's a high-risk family history or maybe it's just a dangerous vaccine period, you don't want to do that again to your next child. And then you'll hear this argument, well, other kids get the vaccine and they're fine, so I don't know what your problem is. Well, you know, we had the same issue with tobacco, right? Some people smoke tobacco and they didn't get cancer, so tobacco's safe? No. We know for certain that tobacco is not safe. And I'm telling you, based on my research and more research that's coming out, the control group study that just came out, it is crystal clear we have an issue with vaccines causing chronic problems. So in sort of wrapping it up for our viewers, you know, thank you so much for coming on this show and sharing your story because it needs to be heard. This is such a common story. And until people realize that this is not a freakishly rare event, this is happening now to probably at least 1%. That's a lot. Are you going to take a 1% chance when the risk of the diseases for which we have vaccines is basically nothing? I mean, death or serious complications from them. So what would be your advice to new parents? What would you like to share, just sort of imparting wisdom to others?
one influential book that I got to help me feel more comfortable about my decision, because at first it was like, I'm really scared. I don't want him to get sick. I don't know what to do. What do I do? Was Dissolving Illusions by Suzanne Humphries. So that one really opened my eyes to really what I had no idea, behind it all. So I would suggest you literally, if you can get through that really long book, read that book, watch all those movies, Vax 2, 1986, The Act. I don't know, look me up on Facebook. I share a lot of things that.
Great. How do people find you on Facebook?
Just under Nikki O'Flanagan.
Okay.
I can spell my name. O
Yeah.
apostrophe capital FLANAGAN. And, if you need help, if you have questions, I that's what I'm here for. That's my goal. I just want to keep telling the world. The way I was doing it on my own wasn't working. So I'm glad, and I appreciate you having me on your show to tell our story a different way. I at first I still kind of have a lot of anger, maybe towards myself and maybe towards the medical, whatever about what had happened. But I think every time I tell this story or tell his story, I heal a little bit. So
thank you so much for doing that. It's so hard as parents, and I think it's hard for doctors to realize or to accept that a choice we made, a decision we made, because I know for a fact I tease my kids. I'm sorry, right? I harmed, your brain damage because of me. No, we did the best we could with the information we had. We were told this was the right thing to do. I believed it, and I'm very well trained, right? Well, not really. You have to really do independent research, which you've done. That book, Dissolving Illusions by Suzanne Humphries, also was one of the big wake ups, because it kind of destroys this illusion of the polio and the smallpox and the fact that these vaccines came in and saved the world, which is what I was taught in medical school. It's not so. You've got to read that book to find out the true story. But for all of us who wished we had done it better, no, there's no reason to beat ourselves up for things. The past is the past. We learn when we learn, and we can do better now, right? So when you know better, you do better. And the blessing you're giving now to the world by sharing your story, if it just helps one other child, right? And you're not going to help just one, you're going to help so many people. So thank you for your amazing work. And you spell your name Nikkay, don't you, for Nikki?
Nikki, Nikki.
Okay, Nikki. If people are looking Nikki up. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And Dominic, it was great to see you too. Hi, Dominic. Well, thank you for coming on the show. And we'll talk again sometime.
Awesome. Thank you so much. God bless.
Right. Bye-bye.
Bye.